The moonlight was gleaming through the trees, and Meltior Hatch awoke with a start. He was confused. What was he doing, sleeping underneath a tree by the trail alone at night? And then as his mind cleared, he remembered, oh yes, he was going back to rescue his brother Orin. Orin and Meltior Hatch were part of General Kearny's Army of the West. It was 1846. They'd been in Iowa planning to come west with their families when an Army officer had ridden into camp and told everyone that he was recruiting a battalion of 500 men to march to California to fight in the war with Mexico. And Orin and Meltior joined. Meltior was 21, already married and with a child. Orin was only 16 and one of the youngest in the battalion. He was technically too young to join the army, but he was tall and strong, and his brother vouched for him, and they needed the men, so they let him join. They set off. It was difficult from the very beginning. There were the torrential rains, and they were slogging through mud up to their knees. And now in New Mexico it was hot, it was dry. There wasn't much water, and what there was not good. Food was rationed, and there was illness. There was always illness. Orin had developed a fever when they stopped at Fort Leavenworth, and he had become worse and worse until finally, one day along the trail, he collapsed. Meltior stopped to help him, but one of the officers came by and said, "Son, it looks like your companion is very ill." "Oh, he'll be fine. He just needs a little time," said Meltior. "Time is one thing we don't have. We're behind schedule already. We can't be slowed down by the weak and the ill. Move on." Well, Meltior had to obey that order, so he positioned Orin in what little shade there was and left him with as much water as he could spare, whispered to him, "I'll come back for you." And he did come back that night with another member of the battalion and a horse, and they brought Orin back to camp. The same scenario was repeated the next night and the next, but then one of the officers came to Meltior. He said, "I heard what you've been doing. You're not allowed to take another soldier with you, and certainly not a horse." So Meltior was on his own. He had started out along the trail, but soon he was overcome with weariness, and he had sat down beneath a tree just to rest for a minute or two, but he had fallen asleep. And now he jumped up and began to hurry down the path to make up for lost time. He saw a movement, and behind a rock in the shadows there emerged a man, a native man. Now, they had encountered a lot of natives along the path, and most of them were friendly, but not all. And so Meltior reached for his gun that he had stuck in his belt, but it wasn't there. "Oh, I probably dropped it when I stopped to rest." But now, shining in the moonlight, he saw his gun. It was in the hand of the native that was facing him. Luckily, it wasn't pointed at him, but just held at his side. The man took a couple of steps forward and held out the gun, giving it back to Meltior. And then he said one word, "Brother." Just then, a pony came into sight with two men riding on its back. The one in front was another native, but the one behind said, "Meltior, is that you?" "Orin." Orin slipped off the pony's back, and Meltior rushed forward and embraced his brother in a fierce hug. And then the two of them turned to face the natives, who were now both on the pony. As the men turned to leave, the one in front gave a kind of salute and said, "Brother," and then they were gone. Orin turned to Meltior and he said, "Yes, that's what they said when they found me beside the trail. I thought perhaps they knew where you were and wanted to take me to you." "And so they did," said Meltior. "You know, I'd had a feeling that somebody'd been watching us for the past few days. I suppose they realized that we were brothers, and they wanted to help." And so, leaning on each other, Orin and Meltior Hatch made their way back to the camp. It was a short walk and a short night's sleep, and then they were on the trail again. They made it all the way to San Diego. It hadn't been easy, but they made it. And as it happened, it was just a couple of weeks after the final battle of that war. They never did engage in any military conflict. Orin and Meltior stayed in San Diego for a time with the rest of the battalion. They dug wells and lined them with brick that they made themselves. They whitewashed buildings. And after a while, they made their way up the coast of California to the north, and then back across the plains, where they rejoined their families in Missouri and came back again across the plains. Now, this was a long time ago, and the families of Orin and Meltior Hatch grew. They worked hard and they prospered, and their descendants now number in the thousands. They're a close-knit family, and they often get together for reunions and other celebrations. And when they do, the names of Orin and Meltior Hatch are spoken with gratitude and reverence. Brothers. So how do you suppose that worked? I know. I'm not seeing that in this list of videos. Oh, maybe. Oh, maybe it didn't record. What? You know, not having good luck here. Yeah, I don't see it.